Hello, I'm Donna Williams, and I'm going to talk a bit about DID and ghosts. A lot of people who are dealing with DID have not understood what alters are or what co-consciousness is, or haven't understood PTSD, nightmares, and have assumed that these are experiences of ghosts. So to give some examples of these different things, some of my alters were so afraid of having a body. They saw themselves as cut off from the body. They felt that they were non-human, that they were more like a ghost with a body, or one of them was always outside of the body and almost utilizing another one's connection with the body to express herself, which is a very strange thing, I guess, to describe. And you can see why it would seem very like what some people would describe as almost like being a medium, or experiencing ghosts, or feeling psychic or something. And so when children have DID and they don't know what's going on, it's very usual to feel that you have, for example, perhaps an imaginary friend who you can feel that they're around, but you're not sure exactly where they are, or maybe they're co-conscious and they're singing to you, or they have some chatter or their own set of feelings that you know what they are feeling and what they want. So children with DID may feel that there's ghosts in the room, or that they have imaginary friends, even if they didn't create these people. I guess that's the important thing, is that an imaginary friend for most children is someone that they've made up, where in DID, an alter is someone that a child may discover co-consciously is around, or feel that that person is around, or be aware that that person takes over, but not sure how, or because it's not the case that in every case of DID the person is completely unaware of all alters. Some children are aware that they have perhaps one or two, and they may have more. They may have 5, they may have 7, but the ones that they are aware of, they may try to reason what's going on and figure these are ghosts. So when I was 2, one part of me was under the bed and could sense this other alter in the room, and so we presumed that this was a ghost who was protecting us and staying around. And then when this other alter took over the body, we assumed that that was to keep us safe. So it was sort of like, because we didn't understand the idea, it was more like, okay, well, this is a ghost, and now it's possessed the body, and then we'll get it back, and that sort of thing. Now, when I was older and I wanted to move away from that stuff of childhood, that stuff of when I had experienced different parts of me as ghosts, or when I had experienced some of my alters as not feeling like they're human, or being people without bodies, or being just outside the body and utilizing one of the other alters to get them to do their talking, or get them to do the things that they couldn't dare to be in the body to do. I wanted to leave this stuff behind, have, if you like, try to have a real life, life in the external world, and there were often experiences of not often, but sometimes, experiences of ghosts. And one of these was when I was overseas, and they were often when I'd have a virus. I'd be quite ill, have a flu, have a cold, something. And when this happened, I would experience PTSD nightmares, what I know now as PTSD nightmares. But then I would find I had woken up, and like in late childhood where I was having night terrors, the nightmare would still be continuing. So I would still see and hear the nightmare with my eyes open, and then slowly it would disappear. So when this was happening when I was ill, or if I was overseas, there was this house and I could hear this party happening, and I got up and went to the door of the room, opened it up, and all the party music disappeared. And I went back to sleep and woke up again, and again the party music, opened the door, the party music disappeared. And then later on in this night, I could feel people in the room. I could almost hear them chattering away, and I sat upright and these faces just rushed at me. So I thought, this house is completely haunted. I'm terrified. And it wasn't for some more years that I was again having a virus and overseas in a hotel room, where I was having the experience of, again, voices in the room, someone in the bed, people, the same sort of stuff about being abused. And again, I had woken up in these nightmares. These things were still physically going on. It was as if there were ghosts in the room, absolutely terrified, certain the room was haunted, demanded another room. And it wasn't until I came back to Australia and again and had the same happen in my own room, then I was sure my room was haunted. And then slowly I began to have so many sort of waking PTSD episodes that I knew, that these were memories, and they're haunting me. My memories were haunting me. That it probably wasn't the hotel room, and it wasn't the house overseas, and that basically this stuff was too scary to come up in a waking PTSD episode. So it was waiting until I was not only asleep but ill to crash through and try to get me to deal with it. So eventually, once I was dealing directly with DID, which was after a diagnosis of DID, I then really could understand how many of these ghost episodes were actually to do with trauma and to do with PTSD, or other times to do with how I was trying to understand co-consciousness, how I was trying to understand the process of alters and how they got there. And I didn't make them, so who are they? They must be ghosts. How even alters themselves, because they are unable to acknowledge that they're related to the family of an abuser, or that, unable to acknowledge that they are trapped living in a situation of abuse. They will create their own history that is detached from that. They'll believe they're a reincarnation from somewhere, or that they are a different gender, or that they are a completely different age, or that they're an animal and not a human, and some things, which adds to the feeling that these are ghosts or reincarnations or something. And certainly the core self in my team was deemed to be like a ghost, and even my father had called me spook, because I would stand in the doorway just staring and blank. And so I even thought of myself as a ghost, and because I had given up the use of the body when between 2 and 4 years old, I became more like just an observer who later would type out what the others were experiencing or wanted to express. So I didn't experience myself as particularly thinking or feeling or caring personally about anything. I felt like I was a conduit for these other people. And in that sense, I guess I was like a medium for a bunch of ghosts. And ironically, they saw me as essentially a ghost, and who happens to be hanging around the body. And when I was able to fully get into the voice and use the body and step into the life that my alters had built in my sort of dormancy and dissociation, I could see, well, fact is, I'm not a ghost. I'm really actually physically having a life, and I'm a traumatized person who had a lot of splitting, and who, without my conscious awareness, had a system of alters that continued to develop more alters, and then I eventually woke up through their therapy and their telling of their lives. And through that waking up, I came back into remembering my own personhood and I guess who I was before I became a ghost. So that's my experience of the relationship between DID and feelings about ghosts and reincarnation and haunting and possession and things like that. I certainly feel if your abuse has also involved people who have given you substances, or if they've been involved with the whole occult thing, then it makes it even more confusing on top of that, because it's already a very, very hard thing to understand this process when you have DID and PTSD, because we don't live in a world where people experience this all the time or talk about it easily, and so you don't learn any alternative way to think about it. And certainly anyone with DID who goes to talk about it is generally going to be presumed crazy, and those who actually have DID, as compared to some who find it a sexy thing and want to identify with DID. A lot of people who actually have DID are very nervous of disclosing anything of their private reality and inner world. So resolving that it's not ghosts, resolving that it's not possession, etc., may take them decades to get to the point they can dialogue enough about what went on to really clarify what those processes are, and how the mind worked in those processes, how consciousness worked, how dreams and nightmares worked, how identity worked to create those experiences. Okay, thank you.